How many Africans have died fighting for Russia in its war on Ukraine? Last month, a new report released the names of hundreds of Africans who joined the Russian army. More than 1 in 5 of them are now believed to be dead. Many others are wounded or missing. For the families left behind, the pain is deepened by uncertainty as their governments struggle to give them clear answers about the fate of their loved ones. Our correspondent Felix Maringa has been following the situation in Kenya. Here's his report about the families demanding the return of their missing sons, brothers, and husbands.
A memorial service to honor James Kamau's life. His loved ones feel doubly robbed. He's dead, yet they have nobody to bury, no way to take their leave of him. The 33-year-old went to Russia last summer after he was promised a job as a truck driver. But instead, he was sent to the front line of Moscow's war with Ukraine. He never came back. His widow is heartbroken. Together with their daughter, she has been waiting for a call from James for 8 months.
I'm still in disbelief. We have had a memorial service, but I don't believe it. I do not have his body or the badge they're saying they identified him with. They should at least give us one. What will I tell my child? It would be nice if I told her, this is where your dad is buried, at this place. She saw her dad's picture on a T-shirt and she asked where daddy is. It is so painful to us.
It's so painful to me and also painful to us.
James' sister Margaret said her brother had traveled to several countries for work in the past and always came back home. She's furious with the Kenyan government for not protecting her brother.
For me, I can blame the government. On all the deaths that have happened in Russia, I blame the government. Because I don't see how a Kenyan citizen would travel out of the country without the knowledge of the government, especially my brother. He's everything I had. Yeah, he was the only brother I had, and my heart is bleeding. So, for the government, let it bring back our brothers, dead or alive. We will be ready for anything.
James is one among the thousands of young Africans who left their home countries in the hope of finding something meaningful in Russia. He traveled over 8,000 kilometers from his home here in central Kenya and ended up dead while fighting for the Russian military. Another African family that has lost a loved one in a war far away from home. James' family is not alone. About 50 families came together recently in Nairobi to demand an end to the Russian army recruitment in Kenya. Mothers, brothers, and human rights defenders marched through the streets to deliver a petition to Parliament. They hope this time the government will at least listen.
My son was told there is a job in Russia as a driver. When he landed there, he told me, "Mom, the contract I've been told to sign is not that of a driver. I've been told I will be going to the front line."
I don't know whether my son survived. I don't know what happened to my son. I am just asking the government to help us. We want our sons back, dead or alive. We just want our sons.
A report presented to the Kenyan Parliament suggests that over 1,000 young Kenyans had been recruited to fight in the Russian war. Back at James' home, 33 candles are lit to signify the number of years he spent on this earth. Many shared with his family. His widow made a promise to her husband and daughter.
I'll make sure I give her the best life. The life that you wanted your daughter to live. I promise I will give her.
Another child who will grow up without a father, consumed by the war in Ukraine.
For more on this, let's bring in Beverly Ochieng, political analyst with Control Risks based in Dhaka. It's a global consultancy that provides strategic intelligence. Hello, Beverly. Always good to see you. Welcome to the program. Now, as we just saw in the report, James Kamau's family is not just grieving a loss. They also feel betrayed. When a citizen is duped into a foreign war under false pretenses, where does the state's responsibility begin and end?
I mean, that's been the difficult thing to establish. We do see denials on both sides. So with Russia itself, where most of these men have ended up, they've said that they did not facilitate the travel for people who are recruited into their forces, but they also have a sort of legal loophole whereby foreign nationals can actually join what they call their special military operation in Ukraine. On the Kenyan side, there's been investigations by the National Intelligence Agency demonstrating that there may be some loopholes in immigration, in documentation, which have allowed agencies that are operating clandestinely, almost illegally in the country, to be able to recruit people and send them to a foreign front line. But the concern is they're not able to get answers from the government. There's no sense that there will be any legal recourse for them. There was one person who was arrested and has been charged with the recruitment, but it will be a lengthy process before they're able to actually get answers to the questions that they have about how it happened and how it was even allowed to happen in the first place.
Right. I mean, that really takes me straight to my next question, which sounds even interesting to ask, because you would assume the government will take responsibility for it, right? But Kenya's government is blaming, as you said, rogue agents. Is it even possible for a recruitment operation this large to happen without some level of official, diplomatic, or institutional bypass? Because it's a bit strange, isn't it?
I mean, that's the thing. The bypasses themselves were probably very difficult to detect, or that people have been operating in this system in a way that they were not being easily detected or being sanctioned by the government, because the issue about responsibility is how far the government was actively involved in this process. But we did find from the investigation by the National Intelligence Agency that was presented before Parliament that it may have involved immigration. Kenya moved on to tightening the movement of people going into Russia. There were allegations that they were using tourist visas to be able to go abroad, traveling through the UAE and other places. And then they found another loophole where they would use Eastern African countries to then move on to the Russian front line. So that's the other loophole that needed to be sealed. But it does operate like various other networks, not just the Russian recruitment, but even other agencies that sometimes recruit for other places like the Middle East, whereby you find that there is an abuse of the system. There are various loopholes and gaps. People can access passports, air tickets, documentation, being able to sign contracts. And in many instances, they're taking advantage of the limited information of the target audience. In many instances, people who are desperate for employment, people who may not be as exposed to information or who are given misinformation, misrepresented for that information on behalf of an agency that is very difficult to be able to find.
Right. I mean, from the way you explain it, sounds like such a mess, isn't it?
I mean, we are seeing a lot of damage control, which does demonstrate that the government in Kenya is at least keen to ensure that they do try to net out people who may be responsible. We saw one of the foreign minister, as well as the senior cabinet secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, going to seek more answers from Russia on how this came about. It's not just a Kenyan issue. We saw the outcry in South Africa, which went as high profile as the daughter of the former president. We saw celebrities being actively involved in the recruitment of people going into this special economic zone, so-called Alabuga, where women have been operating or assembling drones, allegedly. So it does demonstrate that there is a level of institutional power, reach, influence for the people who are involved, and that now the governments need to take vocal action and legal action to demonstrate that this is not tolerable, and at the same time inform people so that they are aware and they do not fall into the same loopholes.
Right. So tell us more about that. I mean, what diplomatic or legal steps should the government take to trace, identify, and really bring back any Kenyan nationals who may still be in Russia?
Well, for now, it depends on the cooperation, both on the Russian and the Ukrainian side. Ukraine has been able to issue various statements on either the identities and nationalities of people who have been involved in the front line and is working with governments in terms of either repatriation or some legal action. Russia itself, even though the law itself allows for foreign nationals to take part in the current operation in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine, with Kenya, they have pleaded the Russian government for more cooperation to have a sense of visibility of who their nationals are there, how they can be repatriated into the country. Families are also seeking support from the Kenyan consulates, which are based both in Moscow as well as here in Nairobi, to be able to get the kind of support they need. But ultimately, the legal recourse will take a bit of time. In Kenya, for instance, there's no actual law on fighting in foreign countries, unlike a country like South Africa, which it is definitely legal, and so people may face some ramifications. But how to limit that will be the challenging issue. We did see some journalists claim that despite reporting on these recruitments, people were also reaching out to them, asking if they can also join the Russian front line.
Interesting. So, as investigations continue, how can the state support affected families and ensure transparency?
At this point, it's being vocal about instances where they have found nationals finding themselves in the front line, being vocal about the actions that they are taking, facilitating their return, ensuring that they do get psychosocial support, because beyond just the legalities and the issues around that, there are some traumatic incidents that they may have been involved in. We have seen some very disturbing videos and messages around how many of these nationals are being treated in the front line. At the same time, what legal recourse is there for families so they can be clear about the course of action to take against the networks that have been allegedly linked to this recruitment, tightening immigration regulations, civic education for the public, and a full understanding of people's rights and responsibilities, especially when they do find themselves in unfamiliar areas, where the contacts for the embassies are to be able to seek help to leave the country if they need to, and a general sense of public awareness.
Right. Beverly Ocheng, political analyst with Control Risks. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you, Eddie.